two of the best ways to get your recovery in. One is going to be this little ball here, and the other is going to be stretching. So I think y'all already know that you need to stretch for recovery, but that's number two. Number one, we're doing SMR, so foam rolling if you have a foam roller, or I really like these little lacrosse balls. Now this is going to be a little more intense than some of the foam rollers, and you can get into those deeper spots. So the first thing you want to think about is acupressure or massage. That's kind of what SMR is. So we're really putting a lot of pressure into these muscles, and generally we want to find those adhesion spots. So it feels like a little knot, almost can feel like a bump. It can be a little bump, and you can actually break it up as you're getting a massage, massaging yourself with one of these lacrosse balls, which is what it is, or using a foam roller. Now, when you're doing this, what I want you guys to focus on, I'm going to give you an example here on the wall for the shoulder. So if I'm doing my shoulders are pretty tight, so I do this often. We don't want to just go up and down like this, right? Because it's not really doing anything, and we're actually contracting the muscle over and over again. So you're kind of making it worse, essentially. So really think about pressing and holding these for a solid 30 seconds or so. And why we want to do it so long is because we need to give that time for the muscle to relax and to let go. Because when we first start doing stuff like this, the muscle's contracting, trying to stay tight and to fight the pressure, right? After a little bit, it'll start sending a signal over to the brain to say, hey, let go of the muscle a little bit, let it stretch out, and just relax. And that's kind of what happens. So usually it takes about 30 seconds. Sometimes for extra tight spots, it might take a minute. The older we get, the longer it takes to kind of let the body relax. So for these, I'm just going to do a simple deltoid one for you. So posterior deltoid, the back of the shoulder. I like to put this guy on the wall or on the ground, and then I'm going to lean back into it. Now I like it on the wall because I can push my body into the wall quite a bit, right? Rather than being on the ground, you kind of have to lay, and you might just have the same pressure. So with this, you can actually put as much pressure as you want, drive the foot into the ground, lean back, and then we're just hanging out. One of my favorite ones, I do this all the time, when I'm in class, in between class, I'm just gonna hang out and you're waiting for it to release a little bit. Now this is gonna be one of the best things you can do, especially for your recovery and to keep your muscles at the optimal resting length, because that's really what we want. We don't want them to get all tightened up again. And when you do posterior delt, which there's tons of stuff you can do, I'll do another video on it, but we want to go up overhead as well, and then you can kind of feel those spots behind the shoulder in there. Now we're opening up our scapula. Oh yeah, I like that one. Opening up our scapula, and then you can really feel a little deeper in there, like this spot right here. And it feels like it's a little painful at first, but then it starts to go away a little bit. So, lacrosse ball, number one tool, key for recovery, at least for physical stuff, right? We'll go over some of the eating and things that you can do for that. So let's get into number two. This next one is stretching, so it's pretty basic. You guys all should know you need to stretch. But I don't think some of you understand is how much it will help your soreness and how much it'll help you the next time you go to work out and your strength. So when we're doing our stretching, especially for recovery, we just want to think about long holds, right? So you have other types of stretching, of dynamic stretching, the static stretching is what we're going to do, and that's just where you hold that position. So we don't want to be moving too much, and we just want to let that muscle release and push a little further after every 10 seconds or so. So we'll do a good hip flexor one that I can show you, especially because you'll notice this stretch after you do it right. In the first time you do it right, you're going to really feel how you get that stretch in and how much deeper you can go into that stretch. So for these, I'm going to bring my knee to the ground. So we want to hold these stretches for 30 seconds at least. Kind of the same as we just talked about with the foam roller or the lacrosse ball, which is what I was using. So we want to drive this front knee forward for this stretch. And we're going to hold that. Now let's say I'm right here, and we're going to hold for a solid 10 seconds. And make sure you're breathing deep. So breathing in, breathing out. Let yourself stretch a little further, breathing in, breathing out. Now as you do this, you might notice And that's your body and your mind letting go of the muscles and letting them do their thing and allowing that stretch to happen. Super important to get these in for the physical part of your recovery. You just sink, sink, sink. And then when you get into doing these, you might even go lower, reach into the ground, rotate the foot out, drop the forearms, all sorts of stuff once you get more flexible. But you really want to get in that flexibility after your workouts. So if you're going to do lacrosse ball and the stretching, I would highly recommend do that lacrosse ball stuff first, because that's going to help inhibit or break up that muscle and make it a little easier to get your stretching in. So maybe 1 to 2 sets after a workout of both. So 1 to 2 sets with the lacrosse ball, 1 to 2 sets of stretching the muscle groups you use. So if you're just doing chest day, right, then you want to make sure you're stretching your chest, but don't forget about the tricep, because that comes in with the chest. So get at least 1 on both. If you're just hammering 1 muscle group like your bicep, get at least 2 on both. But if you're doing a total body, then you need to make sure you stretch a little bit of the upper body, a little bit of the lower body. So just make sure you're hitting every single muscle pretty well. So shoot for those guys after your workout, right after. It doesn't help when you wait 4 hours. Do your workout and then stretch, because then you're bringing that muscle back to optimal resting length. Awesome, guys. So if there's any other questions you have about recovery, optimal recovery, I'm here to help. I'm going to do another video that includes more mental things and things you can do at home, Epsom salt baths, fancy stuff like that. But this is the basic things that you need to make sure you're making happen. So I will see you all in the next video.